Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. First order of business, pledge of allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Consider of any changes, additions, or removals to the agenda. Nothing done? No. Okay, approved minutes of previous meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Guys have it. Approved new ambulance note through M&T Bank.
Excuse me, there's a number 4 on your agenda.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Comments from citizens. Approved new ambulance note through M&T.
Okay, recall that the select board approved the new ambulance in June of 2023. And we have the note that's prepared to go through with M&T. And the terms of that note are 5 years at 4.352%. We did check on, just as a point of information, we did check with Vander Mullen, who is supplying the ambulance, and this beats what they provided to us for a 5-year and for a 7-year. So this is a really good rate in terms of that ambulance note. So what I am requesting is approval by the board to move forward with that note.
And it's fixed, you said, for 5 years?
It is, yes, at 4.352%.
And is M&T the bank that the town banks with, or do we shop that rate?
We do shop around. We went with them because they are local and we have done business with them in the past. And under this agreement, or this note, first payment would be in January of 2027.
Jan 2027.
I make a motion that we approve the note as presented.
Have a second.
Second.
Open for discussion. Being no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Guys opposed? Guys have it. Review and adjust possible approved FY '27 town budget.
Okay, as we've discussed now for a few meetings, and we've made some adjustments from last week's version. What I have handed out and what you all have in your inbox is an electronic copy of this. It's 2 pages, and there are a few different segments on the first page. So I'd like to walk you through what is on that first page. And you can take a look at the percentages. So if you recall December 15th, the proposed budget that we provided to you all had the ambulance and the fire moved to Hartford Dispatch. PD still stayed here, and that was a 20.7% increase from last year. Okay? If you look at the 2 options, they are color-coded, and I apologize if anyone is colorblind, like my husband. He would be very upset with me. Option 1 displays if the town were to move dispatch to Hartford, that's the percentage that you see there. And I just want to talk a little bit about Hartford, and then maybe I can go through option 2. You can see 13.1% would be the increase from last year, and that would be a proposal to move all of our dispatch, ambulance, fire, and PD at some point in fiscal year '27. Many of you know that I went to Hartford. I met with the police chief there, the communications director of emergency services, and their comms specialist. They are very interested in hosting Ludlow. They have 14 agencies and 12 towns and villages that they also have under their operation. I think it's a direction that the town should consider. They made it clear to me that they could not take us starting July 1st, 2026. Okay, so that's the beginning of our fiscal year, July 1st, 2026. However, that does not mean that they couldn't be prepared for us sometime during fiscal year 27, if that makes sense. The three reasons why I believe that the town should consider this in the future is three categories. Life safety. I believe that we could shave seconds, if not minutes, off of our response time for emergencies. The second one is equipment and trainings under 911 dispatchers. And then the third category is the monetary one, and that's what you have here in front of you, and that's what everyone in the audience has. If you look under option 1 on that first page, and then you look specifically at that lower left quadrant, you will see the expenses associated with operating a dispatch in today's figures. And then if you look at that column, so now I'm down on the left-hand, that lower left-hand quadrant, if you look under option 1, it does show, I want to point out that if this is the direction the board wants to go, it does point out that we would maintain police administration. What that means is that we would retain our current dispatchers. We're not proposing to fire anybody, and I know that's out in the community. We would still maintain an 8 to 5 scenario, and then because we are such a service-oriented town, we would couple that 8 to 5 posture with perhaps a little bit of an overlap for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday, Friday running into the evening hours. So really, in the future, if this is something that you all want to do, we would need at least one person and another half person. Okay? There's a lot more to talk about under that. I should keep moving here. So option 2, okay, you can see that percentage point. Option 2 reflects specifically from our conversation last week, where we were representing a 20.7% increase in operating costs to now a 19.4% increase. Okay, so that represents if we were to, and it says over on the right-hand side lower quadrant, Officer Foote, I have some documents here if you want some. Thank you. So that would include all of dispatch remaining with Ludlow Police Department, okay? So before we go to the second page, nobody turn their page yet. Before we go to the second page, 20.7% last week, and then 2 options. We really worked some of these numbers from last week. 13.1 if our dispatch were to relocate to Hartford, and then 19.4 if we were to retain everything. And I could explain some of the details if you need that. If you go to the second page, okay? Over the last few weeks, and even I think in November, the board discussed the 1% local options tax. And how does the board want to utilize that local options tax? In your packet, you have the actual verbiage from when that was voted on. And you can see in your packet that we can utilize the 1% local options tax for things like infrastructure projects and capital purchases. And so what you see under the green at the top represents, after working with highway and town clerk and our administrator, or administration manager office, you can see that we're proposing 417,000 roughly to be utilized for fiscal year '27. Okay? Note the highlight in yellow. Those savings alone will decrease any one of your options on the front page by 8.4%. And so then if you were to do some of the math from the front, option 1 and option 2, you'll notice that, let's take option 1, the pink line, halfway through your page. If you were to take option 1's proposal from the first page at 13.1%, take off the local options tax from approximately 8.4, and that lands you at 4.7%. That's your single digit. But you see how we got there, right? Same thing with option 2. On the first page, it was 19.4. Subtract your option 1 tax of 8.4, and that gets you to 11%.
Ms. Wu, thank you. And thank you for the administration putting this together. Really helps to color code it, but also table it so we get to view it all in a larger format. I noticed the new, under the first page on the pink section, option 1, your dispatch center services of $100,000. That is a negotiated rate, or is that a standard rate that Hartford would charge?
That's an estimated rate. So when I visited, they said that ambulance and fire would be approximately $65,000. And their police chief at the time was going to reach out to Chief Warfel and determine numbers in terms of what it would cost for PD. So it depends on the calls.
So, follow me just for a second, Ms. Wu. Option 1, we get rid of all dispatch. Option 2, we include all dispatch remaining with the Ludlow Police Department. And it looks like we drop down our ambulance dispatch and we remove our fire dispatch. Is that correct?
Under option 1,
Where's option 2 I see on the right-hand side here? Ambulance dispatch on the lower right?
yep,
And fire dispatch. Option 2, it has $20,000 from 35, and fire is 30, but then goes away.
We currently, fire department does not pay Ludlow Dispatch any money, and currently ambulance pays Ludlow Dispatch $20,000. So that would be status quo numbers.
Okay, so we buffed it to 35 and 30.
To
in the previous
outsource.
budget.
Yep, so that was the outsourced number. Yeah.
and that 20,000 has been standard from what I can tell for the last few years, maybe further back.
I think no matter what, option 1 or 2, I don't think it makes sense to have fire dispatch be different than police dispatch, or ambulance different than police. It should be all in the same spot.
May I ask Mr. Whalen to come up here and lend his opinion on these?
Specific question, or?
Yes, which would you, looking ahead for a 2-year period to a 5-year period, what does this look like? You're the head of the fire, we're the head of the EMS in general. Love to get your opinion on where we're looking.
it's certainly a sensitive topic, especially with the folks that are in the room tonight. And I think looking forward at the future and growth and expectations of what is required and needed, I think the folks that we have had have done their job. I think as far as moving on and looking at the future, the concept of going to something, to a PSAP concept, so a public safety answering point that is able to answer both 911 calls and dispatch, will speed time and resources in getting to emergencies. And that is the primary reason why I would like this to be up here for discussion, is that whole concept of public safety. And I am not by any means saying to you folks that you are not providing public safety. Certainly there are some misconceptions about that, but my job is to start the hard conversations and be here with you folks. So as I look at this, my recommendation is to go to Hartford. And as I look at the concepts of it, you take a 911 call rings in, and Hartford, with their equipment and their personnel, they're going to be able to see that call immediately, as opposed to having to work through getting that information transferred in any other way. And it will speed up time. And there will be growing pains, as there would be with everything. But as far as there's no short, sweet answer to it, but the abridged version is my professional opinion would be to move towards Hartford based on that public safety concept, primarily based on time, resources, and the ability of that facility and their personnel.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ben, tell me how they're going to speed up time. Let me just throw a scenario out to you too, okay? Last week there was someone on the West Hill Dam they were walking on the ice. I called the PD, and within 4 minutes I had a police officer there which escorted him off the ice. If I call Hartford, am I going to have to go through a list of who I am, where I'm calling from, where West Hill Dam is? Because I don't have an address. I have an address across the street, but I don't know the address to West Hill Dam. Tell me, when you say it speeds up time, how?
How? So I think as you think about it, which number did you dial?
I called whatever the
228 number?
228 number.
228. Right. So as we think about what number do you dial if you have an emergency?
911.
911. So I appreciate the fact that you know the 228 number, and I certainly think there are probably some local residents that know the 228 4411 number. 911 is advertised worldwide, different abbreviations of that number, but that is the number you dial in case of an emergency. If you are in Ludlow and you dial the 228 line, and you say, help, and you hang up your phone, no one is going to know where you are. If you dial 911, that number is going to get put into the 911 system, should be triangulated of where you are, and even if you drop your phone, we'll start pinpointing your exact location on a map. Ludlow Dispatch does not have that capability. So I think it's a great example of you as a local resident knowing that 228 number, and it's something with your job you probably have to call every once in a while anyways, you know it. I certainly know it, but the general public is not going to know that number. And to be able to dial 911, to immediately get that information and work through it is good. My background in history, I was a 911 dispatcher for the Vermont State Police for 10 years. So I do have some background knowledge of that. Point in case I would use, I've taken several 911 calls in my time where all you could hear is there was a fight, a death. You can tell by what you're hearing. And without getting anything other than the sounds I was hearing, was able to dispatch emergency services to those incidents. And that is because of that technology that is there based through 911. To build on that, and that's just the 911 concept of it. Right now, if based on what the call is and how it comes through, I can hear, if we're sending a bus to Cavendish, I can sometimes hear Cavendish Fire or Proctorsville Fire being dispatched several minutes before we actually get the call. my hope would be that that would alleviate that issue. At the same time, fire-wise, our two of our three primary mutual aid partners are also dispatched through Hartford. And I can tell you, on being on Chester Fire Department as a call firefighter still, Chester and Ludlow get dispatched to Proctorsville at the exact same time. There's about a 5-minute delay there in the time that Ludlow will get dispatched out. They're calling multiple different dispatch centers to make those calls, but with more mutual aid within one center, especially with the technology of using Spillman and the way they're able to build out our call instance, it's quite literally one push of a button, and it will be able to tell which towns need to be dispatched, and they'll be able to do that automatically.
Thank you, Chief.
Anybody else?
Yes, I would like to get Chief's Warfel's opinion as well, but Ms. Foote, please.
I would just say to response time, it also really doesn't depend on the phone call. It depends on the agency, like how long takes the fire department to get to their station, the ambulance, the police, depending on what call they're on. And the purpose of having the 4411 numbers, they don't have to go to 911 because everybody here knows that number. So it's like particularly very good for local. I know like the ambulance has mutual aid or covers different towns. That's just something to consider too. It's not necessarily just a phone call. It's like you're saving seconds and it's on the department itself.
Thank you. Chief Warfel.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Mr. Tucker, Ms. Wu, you called the police today.
Yeah, I did.
How long did it take me to get there?
Like 2 minutes.
Did you call 911?
No.
Ms. Wu, you called my cell phone directly. Saving time. Yeah, I mean, it's. I think we need more time to research this. This was dropped on me over the last couple of weeks, and I think we need more time. We got people here 3 days before Christmas wondering if they're going to have a job. And I think we need more time to investigate and to get all the facts, get the actual numbers. I'm not saying these numbers are wrong, but I did get a number today from Hartford. It was about 138,000 based off of the 4-year average of our call volume. The more we do, the more expensive it's going to be. We have to switch over our computer systems. They wouldn't give me the price on that, but it's going to be expensive. So this first cost year savings is not 100% accurate. There's going to be more fees and more licensing that needs to be researched. I think we need more time to figure this out collectively and have the hard conversations.
Thank you, Chief.
Can we use the microphone? Thank you.
I'm usually pretty loud.
We can hear you, yeah.
Obviously, I don't live here in town, but I spend probably more time in this town than I do at home at this point, and I'm happy to do so. Yeah, Chief Warfel touched on the different computer operating systems. One of my concerns as the patrol sergeant here is, we have a number of young officers who've never used anything other than Valcor. To be honest, I actually like Spillman better than Valcor, which is what we would be switching to, but it is a very different system. A few years back, when the vast majority of the state shifted over to the Valcor system, which was all but a handful of departments, Hartford, Windsor, there's just a few. For me, working the road out on patrol, and certainly for my folks out on patrol that I'm responsible for, we lose the ability to see what's going on around us. We've had quite a few cases that things will start in Cavendish or start in Mount Holly or wherever, it doesn't matter. That state police, either B4, B1, Chester PD, Springfield PD, whatever the case may be, all our surrounding agencies are on the Valcor system. I monitor the B4 screen, I monitor the B1 screen, I keep Chester up. The people around us, and a lot of times that gives us, long before any phone call, whether it be direct to the PD or via 911, we'll have an idea of what's coming our way before it even gets here in a lot of cases. Or if something major is going on in the neighboring town, or vice versa, because I know other agencies do it as well. Maybe not state police as much as they should, but if something major is going on down on near the town line, we're going to start sliding units that way, or vice versa. To me, I know it probably seems small in the grand scheme of things, but when you're out there at 2 o'clock in the morning and after 2 a.m., it's pretty much us. Having the ability to know what's going around us, to me, is huge from an officer standpoint as well as a supervisor standpoint. There's a lot of stuff that starts in these other towns and due to BSP response times ends up in Ludlow, whether we want it to or not. Again, I know it's probably a small thing in the many moving parts that are going on here tonight, but as an officer in this town and as a supervisor in this town, that I have very real safety concerns for our people as far as nobody being able to see what's going on. The particular Spillman that Hartford uses, even other agencies on Spillman can't view that. So.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have 24-hour patrol in Ludlow. Is
For
that
the most
correct?
part, yes. Yep.
And that means our dispatch is on
That is
patrol
correct.
24 hours.
Yes.
And we're one of the few towns in the area, I believe, that does that.
Very few. Yes.
And where's the nearest police barracks via Vermont State Police?
Vermont State Police, it would be Rutland Barracks is geographically probably the closest to us.
Okay.
I know Westminster is quite the hike because they request us pretty frequently to back them up in Cavendish, Proctorville, and we're always there 20 minutes to 40 minutes ahead of them unless they happen on the rare occasion to have somebody in the area, which is pretty rare.
Thank you.
Dave?
Dave Van Gather, taxpayer first off, but everybody knows I've been here for 33 years as a dispatcher. I had a couple of questions first off. What is the costly state requirements that you're talking about? Right here you said costly state requirements to update for dispatch. Other than the console, which should have been replaced for years now, which everybody knows that console should have been replaced for a while, but what's this, I want to know what the state requirements to update costly state requirements.
So what I mean by that is when I see what Hartford has, okay, in terms of their equipment, and some of the things that they offer their dispatchers,
Okay, what would that be?
belonging to the Vermont Dispatchers Association.
Anybody can belong to that if you want.
That's right.
But that's not a requirement.
I'm actually surprised that we're not part of that, Dave.
It's just been put in place for the last 6 months. It's been worked on. And they're trying to get dispatchers to belong to that, and any dispatcher the agency does not have to belong to that. Dispatchers that can belong to it. The agency can if they want to, but each dispatcher has the right to belong to it.
So the state requirements maybe should read a little bit differently here, because the report that I've read is that the state hasn't mandated it yet. But they have, there's enough literature out there that I have read where we're supposed to have 2 dispatchers on at the same time, where the state has, again, the state hasn't required it, they haven't mandated it yet, but from the report that I read that came out in April of 2025, just this year, that everybody in this room should have read, they are recommending that dispatches go to this 1 out of 6 PSAP.
Yeah, that was a study that has been done for the past 2-3 years. Not all agencies, you do not have to go to that. That's a system that's being discussed right now.
And that is what I took from that report, that it has not yet been mandated because they would like that to grow organically, is from what my research has pointed out. It's coming. If we don't make changes, it's coming.
Changes have to be done everywhere.
Yeah.
Second, why is VNA of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Gavel-to-gavel on the dispatch section here?
Where are you?
You're showing, the first thing is approved was to change the piece of 7.6. blah, blah, blah.
Okay, that's a piece that's a piece for the board in terms of the appropriations.
They're
Okay.
the cuts over
Okay.
the general
Yeah.
budget.
It shows it in the same section as dispatch, overtime, all that stuff. So technically, that money there is coming out of that's not in the dispatch budget, right?
Appropriations are not in the dispatch budget.
Second, what's else here? So as far as the police admin office, can I ask a question to the chief?
Of course.
Do you think one admin position is enough?
So I guess I wasn't clear. No one is losing their job under this, okay? We have 4 people. If someone doesn't retire next year, even though I've heard many times that someone that is standing in front of me might retire next year, but if those 4 dispatchers don't retire, we are not firing anyone. We still need 8 to 5, 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. I would also like to think that because we are a service-oriented town, we need coverage over the weekends, or back it up, Thursday, Friday evening, so we need additional people to cover those evening hours. But we will not have a graveyard shift, so to speak, in this option 1 scenario.
The total I got today was 138,000 for police, fire, rescue. And the more, I can't remember if I mentioned it earlier, but the more, for police, when it comes to their billing, the more we do, the more expensive it's gonna be. So the more motor vehicle stops we do, the more cases we take on, the more expensive it'll be. And he said that was at their current budget today, so whatever that means.
So that was 130 just for PD?
138, no, for all 3.
130 or 138?
138.
138,000,
138,000 for
All 3.
all 3?
yes.
Okay.
And that's,
Very good.
and I gave him a 4-year average of cases, motor vehicle stops. And granted, going back, that's during COVID time, so we weren't as proactive.
I would like to just clarify something. If we're not, in option 1, if we're not losing any positions, dispatch, part-time dispatchers overtime, that needs to be amended, I think, to reflect a truer value, because that cancels those line items out of the budget. Is that correct, those totals?
Police admin office, and I'm getting into the weeds here in terms of how that number came about, and I'm looking at our office manager / accountant.
So initially, what was stated was that there'd be no more full-time or part-time dispatchers because there would be dispatching. It would be just an administrative person in the office, or like Penny said, for that day shift, and then you need to have a person and a half. So that's how we came up with that 78. I don't know if that the intent that there was miscommunication, whether or not we were keeping all 4 dispatchers on, then that would, if it's a matter of still keeping on the current dispatchers in any format, that would have to change. But whether they're in part-time roles or whatever, I'm not sure.
Thanks, Diane. So the 78 was based on, and now I remember, you based that on one of our higher paid dispatchers that's currently on the books.
What was I? Is it
1.5.
Is that the, so it says,
Police admin office,
office, that's just salary, right? That's 78,000?
that's just salary.
Okay, all right.
And remember, this is just for the town.
Did I misunderstand something? I just heard you said that the dispatchers wouldn't be going away, but then she's saying that we only have the position for one. So are we getting?
This was 1.5, is this 1.5?
All dispatchers, or are we keeping just, so kind of confused there?
Nope, we keep all of them. So if this number is not reflective of that, then I would change that.
So you're going to keep all 4 positions, 40 hours a week.
Unknown if it's 40 hours a week.
So that wouldn't be 4 positions. So I'm just trying to clarify, because we're being told there's 4 dispatchers, but then in other words, we're being told it's not going to be 4 dispatchers because it's not going to be 40 hours a person. So that's not keeping all 4 people in full-time positions.
We would keep all 4 people. We're not going to.
Okay. I mean, I guess I'm just seeing some confusing things here.
That's why they're listed as options, Dave.
Yeah, I'm not trying to sound anything. I'm just trying to clarify things, because I hear 4 positions, but if you don't have the midnight position, there's no way to have 4 positions.
If you think about if we have overlap of Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, because some people in town do know that 228 number, and we want that 228 number.
Can I make a comment on that? Yes. We probably get more than, it's hard to say right up, but we get, our vast majority of phone calls are from the 228-4411-4421 number. We do get Okemo Mountain Ski Patrol, 9 times out of 10, call 228-4411. You also got to remember about dispatch here. We're more than just dispatchers. We are like the town information center. We get calls about everything. Dump hours, sewer this, that. We get calls about everything, all times of day and night. And in the winter, we get called for, I won't even get into some of the stuff we get called for, but we get called hotels. We are like the town's information center. I just want, as a taxpayer, and everybody knows I'm an employee, so everybody knows I've been here for 33 years. And I'm just looking at some things. I understand, but when it comes to the 911, I mean, Ben used to be a 911 dispatcher. A lot of the cell phones that we get, most of the 911, they can put it into an area, but they can't do exactly where it's coming from. Not exactly. As far as the console, that should have been replaced for years. I understand it's just being brought up this year, but that should have been replaced for years. Technically, if it dies tomorrow, you're going to have to replace it, because there is no parts for that console anymore. That console, the gateway systems that it uses are gone. Motorola does not fix them anymore, and there is no replacements for the gateways out there. And those, even when they were, those were $5,000 a whack for each gateway. And now there is no Motorola gateways for that specific system. So if it dies, it dies. And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, we're down to 1 spare gateway as it is. And that's just in case another one dies. As a taxpayer, I understand everything about budgets. I was asked if I understand finances, and yes, I do, and I get it, but I think in the long run, public safety wise, and the being used as the information people in town, I think in the long run, yeah, I understand, what is it, 7%? But and in the long run, I think it's a mistake. That's my opinion. And like I said, that's how much weight that carries. I don't know. So I just wanted to express some concerns on some stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Dave.
Ms. Foot.
Yeah.
I'll say about this one. So my thing is just kind of giving you guys a little bit more information about kind of from like an officer standpoint, but dispatchers do a lot more than even I know. Sometimes I'll come in and be like, hey, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, doing all this stuff. And it's like, I didn't even know that was like something you guys did. That's they do a lot more work. I definitely recommend going down and sitting with them. They're 24/7. You can't sleep at 4 a.m. Just go to the police station and talk to the dispatcher a little bit more about what they do. Some other perks and stuff for like safety purposes is Dave and Mark grew up here, so they're very knowledgeable on roads, people, kind of everything. I've had a few calls where I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go do this, and they're like, hey, you're not doing that by yourself. I would tell that to Chief Billings, I would tell it to any other officer. That's a two-man job. So it is a perk of having people that grew up here and know this area so well. You guys all know everybody here, so you guys also know that, which is a good benefit. And I've also noticed when calls come in, people kind of calm down when they know who they're talking to, instead of just like the little robot on the other end. So that does help a lot with patients and getting information. We get a lot of frequent callers, so it's kind of nice being like, oh, is this Dave? Okay, hey, it's Dave. Like, kind of calming them down. They have a little bit of familiar. And then there's been like a few situations where, fun fact, if you go to Rubley Lane and you go inside the apartments, no radio service. Have it outside. I went to a family fight, just me, and they said it was actually working. Radioed me a bunch of times, called my cell phone, called my work phone. I ended up getting a call from the chief because he couldn't get in touch with me. He called the complainant, he called everybody he could. I feel like he noticed that right away, whereas like Hartford or somewhere else would be like, they have so many other people they're dealing with. So it's a big thing for officer safety. Let's see, there are little notes. Another like perk of having dispatches, at the moment we all work mainly by ourselves. We have a little bit of overlap. But there's been times where like you get people in the holding zone, they're not happy to be there, so they start like kind of getting like more physical, and they'll step in and kind of be like kind of bodyguard, which is very comforting. When the talk of like switching to Hartford came up, obviously they were upset because why would they not be? But their first question was, what are we doing wrong? So they weren't like, this sucks. They were like, how can we improve? Which they're open to feedback. So if there's anything from fire or ambulance, like let them know, and they're helpful for us. I work in another agency for EMS, and we go through state, so it's a little bit different, but they don't care as long as they hear that you're responding. They don't check in on you. They don't care that you could be on scene for like 2 hours. So it is kind of good to have that focus. Let's see. And then it's just kind of nice because like Dave said, they are an information center. So we get a lot of people who don't like calling on the phone. They'd rather talk to an officer face to face. So it's, if we're out on a call and dispatch is there, they can call us and let us know or have them wait. Whereas they're not going to just be allowed in a police building with no personnel. And that's silly. And then there are other options where it's, you can outsource dispatch or like have people come to us. Like if we upgrade our systems, we can take more departments and get more money in that sense. I understand like Proctorsville goes through Hartford, but the ambulance knew that when they accepted the contracts to the towns. Same with state police. They know that they're gonna get state police and they don't respond to any calls. Not saying that's great, but you agreed to it knowing that was under the circumstances. As well as, we do a pretty good job at saving money on the police side and dispatch. Like Chief Warple just worked hard with the town office to get a grant to hire a new employee. We worked on cruisers when we could have easily outsourced that and would have been fine. But we wanted to help and save money where we can. For the public safety building, like we're happy to stay in the building that we're in. That will save the taxpayers cost a whole ton of money, just with a little bit more touch-ups and everything. And then like equipment, we kind of take care of ourselves with that. A lot of stuff is outdated, but we don't need shiny and new. We need it to work. So just some things to consider.
Thank you.
Let's go, Stacy.
I think there's some misconceptions with the way 911 works. As a 911 dispatcher in another agency, you call 911 in the state of Vermont, we even get 911 calls from the state of New Hampshire, it's gonna go to the first dispatcher that has an open line. So just because you're in Ludlow, Cavendish, Mount Holly, and you call 911, it's not necessarily gonna go to Hartford. It could go to Hartford, it could go to Westminster, it could go to Lamoille. So if it goes to Lamoille, they still have to transfer that call to Hartford. If Hartford takes over, they still have to transfer that 911 call to Hartford, go over the whole spiel again about where the call is, what's going on, and then Hartford would then dispatch the ambulance, police, fire. Also, you don't always know where they're calling from. There's VoIP phones now that you can have your cell phone set to your house. So you could be in Ludlow but have a house in New Jersey. You call 911, it's gonna go to your house in New Jersey. It's not gonna register on Okemo Mountain. Also, there's different phases. If it's a phase 1, you don't know where they are. It just shows the cell phone number. It has to be a phase 2 and it's within miles to be able to dispatch from. As Officer Foote was talking about safety issues, also coming from an agency that you have 15 officers on at one time, you're dispatching 8 fire departments and ambulances. If one of your officers is on a serious felony car stop and then you get a fire coming in, you're dispatching all those fire people, your officer is now at risk because you're not paying attention to that officer. In the desk you're sitting, you're in charge of all those people. You're not checking on your officer every 3 to 5 minutes on a felony stop like you should be because you're paying attention to 15 different officers. So there's a big misconception, I think, about, yeah, they may have 8 dispatchers on at once. However, they each have their own section. And I've been through PSAP consolidations before. They never end up saving the money that they say they're going to, and they're less staff. When the PSAP went through 4 consolidations from Derby and Rutland and changed those, they're like, oh, we're still gonna have 8 dispatchers on at a time. The state PSAPs are now running with 4 dispatchers, sometimes if you're lucky, 5 or 6. So that then takes down your 911 call takers. If they only have 4 dispatchers sitting in their PSAP, they can only be logged in 911, 2 of them. So then you have 2 dispatchers running the whole southern part of the state because the other 2 are answering 911. You can be on a 911 call for 45 minutes with a caller sometimes, depending on police response, ambulance response, if they're staging. So being local, there's definitely benefits, like you said about the dam. So, like Chief Warfel said, I think there's a lot more research that needs to be done.
Thank you.
Just one last thing. One thing I forgot to mention, I wish I had time to actually look up the stats on this, but this has kind of sprung to me in the last couple of weeks, and I had things going on and personal stuff to take care of. I would probably say on the safe side that we get probably out of all of our calls 20 to 25% walk-ins to the dispatch center for calls of service. We have people that come in for medical calls. We have people that come in for law enforcement calls quite often. And that happens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, not just Monday through Friday, 7 to 3, 8 to 5, or whatever. That happens often. I just wanted to bring that number up as well.
Thank you. Have we historically ever reached out to towns looking for dispatch service and offered our service instead of Hartford? Or Hartford?
We've had some, we've lost them.
And why? did they want to go to the centralized unit? And have they ever contacted us back? I love having a local service. I just don't know moving forward what the feasibility of it is. I'm just curious as to, you know, if we were to keep it here, how it would work.
I don't know why Proctorsville and Cavendish are under Hartford.
And Plymouth and Mount Holly.
I don't know about Plymouth. I know they told me, I asked them what towns near Ludlow, and they said Proctorsville, Cavendish, and Chester. 12 towns, 14 agencies.
Okay, thank you.
So I have had some preliminary talks with other agencies. I did talk to the Windsor County Sheriff, Ryan Palmer, because he left when he took over. He thought the grass was greener on the other side, but well, it's not. And we have had some preliminary talks about bringing him back to Ludlow for dispatching services.
Bringing
what back?
Windsor County.
Windsor County Sheriffs.
Yeah, we used to dispatch for them until the new sheriff took over.
I remember that. Okay.
So the preliminary talks, but you know.
And what was that total?
That was.
Is it 20,000?
No, it was like 40, somewhere between 40 and 50,000 is what we brought in for them.
40 and 48 or 40?
Between 40 and 50,000. So, and I talked to another law enforcement agency in the county about it, and just got to work them up some numbers and see where we can go from there.
I have a question for Chief, if I can. So a lot of discussion is, from what I'm understanding, is that we don't accept 911 calls at Ludlow Dispatch right now, and there's concern about the time from the person, whoever that 911 person is,
yes, sir,
and when Ludlow Dispatch gets the information.
Yes, sir.
Is it possible to say we go a completely different direction and we say we want to take 911 calls? Is that what does that?
I would have to research that all.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, there'd be more training. We'd have to get more training, better equipment. As Dave said, yeah, the console should have been placed years ago. I guess in the interest of saving money over the years, that wasn't done. But this is the issue I inherited. So, but we're working on that.
Let's ask Stacy, who is. I mean, I would.
To be 911 certified, it's a 40-hour class. You have continuing ed you have to do throughout the year. A lot of it's done online, some of it you can do in person. I've had my 911 certification after 16 years. I maintain it. But like I said, even if we answer 911 in Ludlow, the 911 call could still be answered in Lamoille. It doesn't have to be transferred to Ludlow. So, if we went to 911, that would be great. I would suggest having 2 dispatchers on, because then if one's on 911, you still don't want somebody to be able to check on your officers. You're going to need somebody to dispatch ambulance, everything like that. But it's a 40-hour class to go to school.
I was under the impression to be 911 certified is a very stringent requirement.
A few years ago, the state actually went through severe staffing. They were paying some of their hazmat guys, everything. They rushed them through the 911 training. They were coming into the CSAP and only answering 911 calls, not doing any other dispatching. Paying them their overtime. Is it strange? Have you heard people die? Have you heard people be shot? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I had a mother on the phone that her 7-year-old son was drowning and stuck in a culvert and couldn't get that child out. And I stayed on the line with that mother so that she wasn't in the way of the rescuers. Something you remember. But it's the same as dispatching. I could hear, the chief get shot if you're dispatching. I mean, is there continuing ed? Yeah, but there's continuing ed for officers, but I think our EMS license, So there's continuing ed for the officers to be there.
The new, sorry to interrupt. The new console I looked at was set up so you could have dual dispatching. That's the quote that I had for the 90-something thousand dollars. Because I do want to move forward into the 21st century instead of stuck in 1995.
What did you say the price was of it?
I think it was around 95,000 for the new console, which you could have dual dispatchers working at the same time. My theory was, hey, what if we get flooded again and we need another dispatcher here? Somebody can jump in. A lot of the officers are cross-trained in dispatch, so that way, in the event that something happens, one of them drops, has a stroke, has a heart attack, needs to go home sick. Somebody can man that phone, man that radio until another dispatcher gets in or whatnot.
So,
I have a question.
go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Chief, so our dispatch protocols are based off of what?
Whatever Chief Billings had in place at the time.
And are those tiered to state, are those federal, or are those something that Chief Billings
As you were, I did update the communications policy when I took over, and that was based off of the City of Rutland's dispatch center, and they had dual dispatchers, and it was their policy. That's what I based that off of.
So we tiered off of
A larger agency, Rutland City.
Rutland City?
Yes, ma'am.
And how often do we train on those protocols?
We've trained once since I implemented that a few months ago. That is, again, when we talked in your office, one of the things that I think I talked to the board about when I took over, or even before I was promoted to chief, was dispatch training. Dispatcher Van Gother, you have a training scheduled for February?
Do I? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you have a training scheduled here for February, do you not?
Yes.
Trying. It's been 8 months, and I'm doing the best I can with what I have.
Understood.
Do we have, is it my understanding that we need an updated console, so that's gonna be a 95,000 purchase for budget 28 potentially?
I originally put it into this budget, and I think it was supposed to be moved to the capital budget. Whether that happened or not, I'm not sure. That was before town manager Boo took over.
Yeah, I don't have that.
That's not in there?
I don't have that number
Okay.
in there.
So the way that I understand this issue is we're gonna try to save some money by moving centralized location. But if we keep the dispatch, we're gonna be looking at the $95,000 new console. But it'd be nice if we were to keep the dispatch to try to communicate with other towns and become a central dispatch ourselves almost. And I don't know what the feasibility of that is.
It would take some time, and that's my initial statement tonight was we need more time to research everything and to gather all the facts and circumstances and what we can and can't do.
So let me just offer one more thing about Hartford. The reason they can't take us starting fiscal year 27, which is July 1st, 2026, is because they too have to go to their select board and seek approval to bring on new, and also to add, they would like to add a console. So if we are talking about going to another level and being a 911 hub, we really need to carefully consider taking on that. They gave me an estimate of $250,000 to set up another console, and they have 3. I don't know if that squares with.
I just heard 95,000, is that?
That's the console that I priced out.
If I can. So being, not to make a light of any of the conversation that we've had, being that the way our budget works is that if they can't take over July 1 of 2026, the start of fiscal year 2027, we can't make budget plans based off unknown promises.
Right.
And so, to kind of go off what Chief Warfel said is, to combine that with the answer from Hartford is, we can't really go that direction if they're not able to take us. I mean, when's the budget due? A handful of days.
Yeah.
Later on in the packet, we haven't even talked about things going to the 1% option tax that potentially brings us. I just don't see how we can propose a budget on no promises that we could even potentially go there. And then, not to kick the can down the road, but that would then provide an opportunity to have real costs for all options. That's my, out of this whole discussion, that is
I'm going to second
my
that, Mr.
perception.
Tucker. I agree. I think I want to applaud the administration and the new town manager and Chief Whalen for presenting ideas that we can understand and learn about. I do think we're a little young on this right now to move forward with it, with the unknowns. But I appreciate it.
I just feel that we're against that hard stop where our budgets do. We're potentially looking at all options. Everyone understands we're in a tough budget year. Costs are going up. All options are on the table to cut expenses. But this is not a decision, one, that we should rush if we don't know all the expenses and what those savings might be. And, you know, as it projects now, we've got $380,000, which is roughly or 7.6% savings, right? So like that's on a budget, that's a significant number. You know, fiscally, we have to be fiscally responsible, and that's part of our jobs. We at least have to have the conversation, but I think that
I think there's more discussion to be had on this topic as well.
I agree wholeheartedly.
There's a gray area with the police. There's a gray area with us. We just don't know the numbers or the implications or the acceptance yet. To make our budget based on another town's select board, it's too unknown at this point, I do think. Marissa?
Yeah, I think, oops.
I just kind of thought about this, but Carmelo mentioned like the ambulance delay between Hartford and Washingtonville. What have we got Dr. Phil back? I don't know if there's been any research done to see how much they pay Hartford or how, like that, would that worth bringing them onto ours and dispatching them with us? Like that's another option. We could also look at it and people would come back. But then we can bring that, I don't think it's violent. That's something where when I was getting
Thank you.
Years ago, I tried getting other agencies to come here, but there was never much support. No, this is years ago. You got it. But there wasn't much support from various state. I've always wanted to get more agencies, and I know sheriffs have reached out, potential for others. Because I don't think our numbers are actually there to support, because you're having, it shows one number, it shows only 78,000 for
I'll be like, oh, you don't have a basic level crew on tonight.
Excuse me, we've had another comment from Eric Alden requesting that people please go to the mic because people on Zoom cannot hear you if you're not speaking to the mic. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia.
Yeah, that's important.
Sorry, Eric.
I was just gonna say, being local, you can also, when I go to work at night, a lot of times you know who's on the ambulance by the cars that are in the parking lot. So if it's, you know, a CPR in progress call, you know you're gonna need ALS. So a lot of times you can go that route and put another active out for a paramedic to meet them on scene. Or if we only have half an ambulance crew, you know that. You know you're gonna have to go mutual aid first. Where if you're a regional dispatch center and it's not communicated, hey, we only have a basic crew on tonight, or hey, we're down a member tonight because there was an emergency, there's going to be that delay that then the ambulance crew needs to contact dispatch and be like, hey, I need you to get me a driver.
Thank you.
What,
So, police officers don't work 24 hours in other towns? I'm really trying to work my head around this.
no, they can afford it. Oh, can we, I want to redirect.
The vast majority of agencies in the state overwhelmingly is no later than 2 a.m., to include state police.
And when was that decision made? Do you know?
I have no idea. It's been that way as long as I can remember that. So surrounding us, Springfield's starting to get their numbers back up, so I know they're creeping back into the more 24/7 realm. After 2 a.m., our closest backup is typically going to be Rutland City.
And what was the decision or the impetus, I guess, for us to remain 24-hour as a small community? Is it proximity, location?
I think, and maybe Dave or Chief could answer this because I've only been here a short amount of time. Ludlow's one of those towns that one of the things that I like about working here is we don't go looking for anybody else. We handle our stuff. Most small town PDs, they schedule what they schedule and state police fills in the gaps. If they don't have an officer on, we don't do that here. If we're in one of our very few gaps where we don't have an officer on, we make sure that somebody's on call and that somebody's available to respond to whatever's needed here in town. What the reason specifically that Ludlow's maintained that footprint as a constant police presence, I would suspect some of it is geography. We're kind of in the middle of no man's land, law enforcement wise, where we are. We fall under Westminster's coverage area. After 2 a.m., you're getting troopers that are on call that are getting called out from home. Not too many of them live up this way. Most of them, because the barracks is down in Westminster, and through no fault of their own, they cover a tremendously large area. They pretty much cover from Hartford down to Massachusetts. So you have a huge response area. Getting a trooper after 2 a.m., you're looking at, I would say the average is probably going to be an hour or more response time. And whether that's a domestic, whatever the emergency is. Because if it's not something that's urgent or life-threatening, they're just going to hold it for either day shift. They're not going to call somebody out, pay the overtime, or they're going to hold it for when Ludlow PD comes back on. We don't do that here. We handle our business ourselves. But yeah, the area generally, Rutland City, Springfield, us. I'm not sure about Windsor.
Windsor PD, Hartford PD, and Woodstock has one officer on at night.
That is a great service that this town has, and I'm sure a premium cost. I mean, most towns I'm sure don't have 24-hour service because they simply can't afford it. So that's a great amenity. So thank you, guys. Sure.
Go ahead.
I think based off of everything that we go with option 2, which remains everything as same, presented on page 1, the bottom right-hand corner, and then we can potentially talk what's on page 2 for cost-saving options. Just, I mean,
we want to keep moving.
That's my thought. I mean, we've talked for an hour, and that's my thought. I don't know.
Mr. Silvestri.
Just make a comment. Brian Silvestri, 57 Pleasant Street Extension. What are we going to do about this console that could die any minute? Cannot be on a budget for 2-3 years. So I urge the board to make a decision on a direction at this point, because there's capital improvements that need to be made. I don't like being a resident of this town knowing that our equipment, our emergency response equipment, is one replacement part from being obsolete. This cannot be on a budget for 2028. I urge you to consider this, take a direction. Are we going outsourcing? Are we staying local? And please go in that direction. There is too important of a subject to be this wishy-washy over at this point in time. And hearing that we're 100,000, 200,000, figure out what the number is. But if we're keeping the services in town, these services need to be able to function. We need the equipment to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just make one comment on the console?
Yes.
come up to the mic though, so.
Yeah, no,
Okay, yeah.
the new console that we got the quote for, I believe it was right, it's called the Mindshare console. It's unfortunately where everything's headed, some AI involved in it, but it is a dual head console, so you can have two dispatchers. Believe me, there's been times I've worked both Irene, I worked our last flood, I worked the windstorm the year after Irene, and there's times when, yeah, it'd be nice to have the second person. So that the reason we set that up is because this Mindshare is a dual head dispatch console. It also has all the modern bells and whistles that any dispatch agency in the state of Vermont has. They have different versions of it, but it's pretty much the same thing that everybody carries. Has the instant feedback, instant callbacks. It's 2025 technology in the console. I mean, the console we have now, 2025. We got that building, when did we move in that building? 2000? 2002, something like that.
I think it was 2000.
So it was like 2005 when we got that console that we have now. I did have one major crash in like 2010 where they had to replace part of it. So that system is going on 20 plus years old. You're not going to get any, I don't care what you have out there in the state age, nothing lasts that long. But this system now, it's called the Mindshare, and it's a dual head system that is meant for expansion, recording, all that stuff. I just wanted to mention that about the console itself. It's a Mindshare, and actually there's very few console producers out there anymore. So Motorola's getting right out of the business. So, but it's a dual head system meant for expansion. So, okay.
Thank you. You know, Mr. Whalen.
Dave, I'll follow up with you tomorrow. I believe, didn't Tom Powers from KMA say they had a gateway for that when they came down? That was a couple months ago, but I will follow up with them tomorrow and see if we can get that piece. I mean, I think as far as what we were discussing here tonight, the concept was there's nothing in stone of what is available to us. So I believe the concept we would have to be going somewhat with option 2 no matter what. The idea is to open up conversation for the future. I do think if the idea is that we're looking for more numbers and you want more concrete, then it behooves us to all get that information to you in the near future. I think as far as the budget goes, again, I will follow up on that tomorrow if we can get those parts and pieces. We could go back and forth here all night and different opinions and minds, and I'm not going to get into those weeds with you folks right this moment. But I think opening this conversation and starting it is a good thing. I also think it would be really good for everybody to read through the reports and think about what staffing models would be required to actually move forward with maintaining something. And as we think about the overload that a couple folks have brought up, and I'm not saying you're overloaded, but I'm going to use it as a point. If there's no police officer and you guys have to go to the bathroom, the console is left unattended, correct? So if we're going to invest, then we need to invest. And it would be heavy. And as we look at the staffing model that would require 11 to 12 full-time personnel to be dispatchers to maintain 2 on shift, then we can look at that. And we can look at the training requirements that go with it. And we can have all those conversations. I think we can get back to everybody within the next few months with solid numbers of what would be feasible and so on, and work together to come up with those. But we have to be open to new possibilities and looking at the future and what the town needs.
Thank you, Mr. Whalen. And you know, I opened up this line of questioning and then we can move on. Asking Mr. Whalen what his view for the next 2 to 5 years is, because in my mind, the unknown and the change is coming and shifting in all directions. So, you know, I'm prepared to understand the moving dynamics of what this is going to look like in the next couple of years. Whether it's a heavy investment in understanding the staffing model and trying to get other towns in, or whether it's outsourcing it to Hartford. just tonight is a tough night to make that decision. There's too many unknowns. We don't have the solid numbers, and we're long in the tooth on this budget. But I do very, very much appreciate everybody's time and energy into this, and I do want to keep the conversation moving.
George, did you start a motion?
You did.
That was more of a point of order.
We're almost on page 2 now, Mr. Bates.
It was more of a point of order, is that, from my perspective, is we're having a conversation that in all reality, we can't make a decision on because they can't say July 1 that we can just pass the torch, right? So with that being said, I mean, I appreciate there being the open conversation, and I think knowing all the numbers is very important, and if we don't have all those, we can't make a decision on it either. And if we look at page 2, I know that's where we're headed, right? Like, we can get our budget based off of what's being projected to a much more, or at least digestible amount. So, I mean, just to kind of move the, I'm not saying we kick the can, but if we don't have the answers tonight, we don't have the answers tonight.
Now, Ms. Wu, please, Diane.
And I think this is great for this whole conversation and moving forward. However, I just want to make sure that when you go with option 2, that we have to make sure that the dispatch has the proper console that they need, the updated, which these figures do not have that in. So just figure on another percentage point when you're coming up with that option.
This is something we're going to want to understand with the gateway that Chief Whalen was speaking of.
Yes.
Perhaps there's a stopgap there that will help us, but duly noted. Thank you, Ms. Knight.
Just wanted to make sure you're aware of that.
So to also touch on that, is being that would be a capital improvement. When we go to page 2, you'll look at 1% funds, that is a potential thing that could be spent, that money could be spent on. So just as it doesn't necessarily have direct impacts on the budget.
Ms. Wu, where's the line item for the local options tax revenue?
The line item?
There is none.
We don't really have one because we don't know what it's meant.
Exactly.
ULA estimates $1 million.
Yep.
ULA estimates that in all the other funds that she tracks. She has estimated 1 million within a year she's on.
We have 140 in it right now.
140,000.
We've got one check.
Yeah, for Q1.
First quarter, which is
July 1 to September 1?
Yep.
Or September 30?
Yep.
So yes, what George was just saying, we could add the approximate $100,000 new console under the options tax.
Before we do that,
Okay.
I want Chief Whalen to understand what the gateway looks like with the gentleman from a few months ago that you were just talking about. I don't know how the local options tax works for other towns. Obviously, we just passed ours. I don't know if that's why I asked what line item it is. Where's the money? What do we project in line item just in the budget? Like,
it's not technically part of the budget. We have to vote as a select board what money we allocate from there onto it.
I guess I don't want to throw too many things at it.
Neither do I.
I guess.
No, neither do I. I mean, we're facing that, looking roughly at 20%. And, I sat down with Penny when we talked about some of these things, and the items that are listed there in that green section on page 2 are all the things that met the criteria that it was voted on, which...
I actually agree on all those items. I think that they're good items to put in there.
The verbiage that was passed is in your packet.
Yeah, I reread it. Thank you.
Thank you. And so capital purchases, infrastructure projects. And so all of these meet it. Do I think that the board should vote on every piece of equipment every year or those future things? No. We are in a budget predicament, and we all know that. The board asked for accurate numbers and different ways that we can move the needle in terms of a high percentage increase. I would highly recommend that for fiscal year +27, you utilize the local options tax that is on second page at the top, $417,000. Add $100,000 to that for $517,195.73. And that would go toward the option 2 that currently sits at about 11%, but as Diane just said, it's going to be 12%. So really, that's in my mind, then that was all awesome conversation. I want to thank the dispatchers and Chief Warfel, you and your officers, Foote and O'Reilly, sorry. I'm trying to get over these. Chief Whalen, thank you. That's how we're going to make better decisions in the future, is for everybody to do what we just did. And I know that took an hour, but
This is community.
It was just an hour.
It needed to be done, right.
And
So I would propose, and I would love to hear a motion.
So before, I just want to make a couple comments on dispatch. We need to pursue looking at that and continue that conversation. We're hoping to pass a budget tonight, knowing that we should have had $100,000 or $90,000 into a new console. To run a good dispatch, we need to make sure we have those investments in there. I think the 228 number does not, in my mind, that doesn't relate to life safety. That if you have someone at admin, you call that number, great. You're in an emergency. I've lived here my whole life, never called for an emergency, I'm calling 911. And if the regionalization can be that poor, we shouldn't be looking at trying to regionalize ourselves. If we want to take on other towns, hey, we are providing that poor service to our neighbors, just like we are looking. So, and I think the investment, we need to understand what the investment would be to outsource with all that infrastructure, technology, also what it's going to take for us if we're going to keep it, what that investment is, and looking at what is the state looking at to require. It sounds like we're getting some training stuff going, which is awesome. Dispatch has been a conversation, at least at the chief level, and us for a little bit of time now. So getting that going, I think it's an option, but we still have some work to do, and we should continue it. So I think there's some good arguments, but some of it still needs some work, and we need some more numbers.
I'm not necessarily prepared to make a motion to include the dispatch radio tonight, because I want to hear the outcome of this gateway subsidy, because if we keep moving on this conversation for next year's budget, we're going to be looking at potentially outsourcing or getting more numbers. We just spent $100,000 on a dispatch item.
So being that the 1% stuff isn't even a part of the budget, those things are being removed from the budget. So
you want to allocate the local options tax.
Right, so in the locals options tax, if you're I'm a numbers person, right? So, and you track numbers, is that we're not necessarily the budget and 1% option tax are in theory two separate entities. We've been given the privilege by the people to say, this is what you can use 1% money for. These are the things we've pulled out of the budgetary process that we could potentially spend 1% money on for. We know we have other 1% purchases coming, but being that we're in the budget situation we are this year, those are being removed from the budget, paid for by this other funding source called the 1% option tax. So even in theory, if a console is not included in our list, right, and that expense does occur, let's just say 4 months from now, we could then authorize as the select board the 1% option purchase of that.
At that time.
At that time.
That's not going to affect.
So the only reason these are on here is so that you can say on your master copy, say, oh, I'm looking for
scrub it off of debt management.
You could be like, okay, I'm on 180/91.66, this highway F600. Where did that magically get removed from the budget? It's being paid for by a different funding source.
I just want to remind you that Ryan brought up a really good point. waiting for something to happen. It's not the time to do it.
Correct.
Yeah, I think we need to know what do we need to do, not just patch it together. And what do we need to have exactly what we need to run the level of service that we pride ourselves on.
It just, yes, I understand. It can be a slippery slope when you have a new fund that comes out and you start just picking off of it. We came in this meeting with 2 options and we're leaving with a 3rd option, which is $100,000 more expensive. I understand what we're getting at. I know we need top-notch service. I would like to explore still a remedy if feasible, and then cross that $100,000 bridge if and when we come to it based on that account. But I do, I do want to be kind of a steward of the local options.
No, I am very much not the person who wants to spend any money because we have $11 million dam bill.
Yeah.
And we already bought $4 million worth of fire trucks that needs to pay for. I'm very much in not wanting to put things on the 1%, but I don't think a 20% budget increase can be taken to the voters. They'll literally laugh.
Yeah.
These are options, right? And
it is.
Maybe next year we can look at bringing back some of those things onto, the regular budget items.
The cemetery mower, Dorsey Park cameras, crushing gravel, that does not seem like capital.
So crushing gravel every 3 years is, so talking with Ron, being that we bring in and crush 3 years of gravel at once, that was deemed a capital, maintaining roads, doing the pavement costs. Those were, we're coming up with ideas of facing a 20% budget increase.
Dorsey Park cameras make sense because it's infrastructure and it's protecting assets. There's some vandalism up there.
In that same realm, there's also the equipment and facilities funds, which I did get a copy of all those balances. So things, if you said, hey, we don't want to put the Dorsey cameras on the 1% option, right? There is like $60,000 in the rec facilities fund.
That seems touching like that, Mr.
No, but we're having tough conversations on budget numbers. Anything's on the table.
I would like to thank everybody for looking at the local options tax inclusions. I think that makes a great difference, and that's being creative. So thank you, whoever had those ideas. We're looking for a motion whether to approve or not approve this budget. It seems like the board is looking to go with option 2, with adding in the potential of the dispatch radios. And I agree, it's an important thing. When we're sprung on at the 11th hour like this, when we're trying to pass a budget, it can be, a little quick, but we're okay to do it. So option 2 is 9.7%.
10.7? Or no, I guess we'd keep that in the...
decrease from the December 15th. So we're looking at an 11% increase.
Option 2 on the first page, 19.4%. If we keep it as is, dispatch stays for ambulance, fire, and PD, 19.4%. If the board wants to utilize the local options tax as we have identified on second page, it will lower that 19.4 to 11%.
Yeah, I follow that.
I'll make the motion that we go with the 11% increase option.
We have a second. Any discussion on that?
Any further
discussion? Any more discussion on that?
I think we need to be very, very careful with that options tax.
I do too.
We passed it and it was very, what it's reading and the intent, I think the intent was not to just bring the budget down each year. And we're not taking all of it. But if you're not if you're not six figures, it seems small.
I agree with Mr. Schmidt, and I also think, this board is well aware of that, and I'm speaking for myself. I'm looking, most of those things I agree with. I think most all of them on there, and I think it's a good use of money. But we do have to be very, very vigilant and do our due diligence on these.
Because that's going to come back next year. And we're going to have those.
Exactly.
Those things.
Yep.
That's right.
Bruce.
Bruce Schmidt, 988 Chapman Road. Just a couple things. One clarification. Police coverage was until 2 a.m. For several years when there was a shortage of officers. And let's face it, I think it's because Chief Billings lived in the town and was able to be, drawn out. Not ideal, but, that did happen. I also wanted to just make sure the board, and I'm sure that you're thinking about this, but we have a $250,000, $250,000 increase in the voted articles that aren't in this budget. They're basically going to be voted on. Is this the year for doing the, tree warden? Not that it has to be in this motion, but is it the best to be doing the trees? I'm not quite sure what the grant match fund is and the reappraisal. Can anything be put off to help? Because that's going to be added on to the budget once we vote, at town meeting. So does the select board want to take the forward thinking of, yes, we have a bigger budget and we're going to make our decisions on, to help with this, and is there anything that can be done there? Just a thought at some point.
Stay tuned, Mr. Schmidt. Thank you.
That's coming up.
Yes, sir.
Great segue. You read his note.
Okay. No other discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guys,
Aye.
guys have it.
I seriously want to thank everybody pitching ideas, solutions, alternatives, thinking outside the box. We're facing a 13% increase at the state, potentially. We're facing a double-digit increase here, and it takes a town and a village of like-minded and smart folks to make this work. So thank you all very much. That was a good budget, tough one.
To approve new articles to the voted on in preparation for 26 town meeting.
In your packet, you all have the sheet right here, and as Bruce Schmidt was just alluding to, the board needs to approve these articles moving forward. Many of these are repeat. I think probably the top maybe 6 or 7 up to the mover are all typical funds that you see in town on town meeting day. So I think the board needs to move forward, have that conversation. The mover, so you have some highlights in here, and then I'll let you guys you all ask questions. The mover was moved, no pun intended, over from the article. It was in our regular budget, so we moved it over to the article.
Yep.
You guys recall that? That was before I came in. I think that was
the exact opposite. Went from voted article to appropriations.
That's correct.
Sorry. Tree warden, that one was added in the past as well, I think in November. And I'm not sure how we got to 110,000, but
15 trees or something like that?
It was 52 trees. 52 trees. At the most expensive rate, which would not necessarily be all every tree.
I think the first year that could be cut in half. Till we really...
or even more.
Yeah, maybe even more.
So the other option is how we've got the money in the dam spillway fund, which was originally allocated for repairs that we got federal and state money. No, that they covered all the expense. So originally, we had the damage that needed to be repaired. At last second, we found out we didn't have money in the budget. We set money aside. State and feds covered 100% of it. So we've got a pile of money. Our dams have been fixed for the short term. Now we're on the big project.
Do you have
There's
that
something
balance?
we potentially could remove. I don't believe we spent any of the 3 years that we allocated. But that would be an ULA question.
So you would drop that 125 out of there?
I think that's, if we're looking at options, and I appreciate Bruce's comments. I mean, this might not be the year to tackle some of these projects. As a member on the tree committee who was listening to Phil Carter and we've done the preliminary drive around, I mean, there's hundreds of trees that are potentially dangerous. I mean, I think that's important, but, you know, putting any money at it is better. If we're looking for things to save money on, cutting from our deal, you know, we've got some money sitting in, if we have another flood, we've got a little kitty to repair a spillway. We don't put that money there. We just cut that out. Maybe we trim back the tree, what Phil's got for money to identify trees and work with Ron.
Dams, that is exactly what I see for options tax.
Correct. There's an $11 million bill that we're facing.
Yeah.
What we came up with that voted article was to fix the spillway, which has been not cost us any money out of pocket. We might have had the front, but the state and feds did make that up.
There's no wiggle room on that reappraisal fund because that has to be done. Is that correct, Ms. Wu?
Has to be done. Yep.
And then the grant match fund, we've had such great success so far with that grant that having a grant matching fund is a good idea because it helps us generate, it matches our dollars.
Did we take money out of the budget?
Yep, so that each department didn't, like, so, you know, the police didn't put in 20 and then the fire put in 20 or whatever. Also, I think we could, my opinion is we could direct the town manager and our grant coordinator that there would be equitable access to the funds so that it wasn't that, oh, highway's always got a culvert, that they always get the, you know.
Almost like a turn basis or something.
Sort of, or what's available meets our objectives.
What are we thinking on the tree warden committee fund?
15,000.
How much?
15.
15?
George, you're on that committee. Thoughts on that?
I mean, we're facing a lot of, but you've heard me push money onto things I don't want to spend. Like, I think you start with 15 and then you give Phil the direction that you work with Ron to do as much in-house as we can. Say we're gonna take a serious look at in-house work, not put more burden on the highway, but do what we can.
You comfortable with that, Mr. Bates?
And I also think we should just remove the 125 from the dam spillway allocation, being we have some money set aside if a dam spillway was damaged tomorrow, God forbid.
I would, under normal circumstances, give you a little bit of pushback, but I'm not going to give you any. I think that should go to this year.
I'm showing that there's currently 125,000 in that dam spillway.
Is that it? We must be waiting on reimbursements or something.
Well, it doesn't look like we did it in 24.
It's 25.
Budget, actual budget. You should still have 250.
Well, you don't, because this year's not done.
This year,
your budget 250.
Budget FY26.
We'll have
Maybe Ula can answer
we're
better.
not done with it though, so you'll have it.
Yeah, okay, so we'll have,
We will have 250.
It's not
We'll
reflective
have
yet.
250.
Understood.
Not reflective.
And still be very careful.
Right.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the town voted articles with the tree warden committee fund at 15,000, removing the dam spillway fund of 125,000.
We have a second.
Second.
Open for any more discussion.
does it make sense to remove that dam spillway completely or lower that to a
The only reason why I think removing it completely is because I don't really want to move the grant match fund money.
Yep.
So the other thing is, if in a case of an emergency, we do have additional 1% money that we could allocate to that as well. We could also bond for any repairs or get a loan like we did with the 2023 flood.
And maybe that's something we look at down the road of that 1% options tax of, hey, end of the year, we got $600,000 left. And can we put that, hey, we're going to put in that 150 into the dam fund from that, or not. But I support that decision.
Okay. Being no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guys opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, Brad. Okay, stay on that same sheet. Now you have to decide on, again, this is for preparation
Yeah.
for town meeting day. We need to know so we can prepare for whether or not each article will be
either on the floor or on
yes, on the floor or by ballot. So we need to go through and determine.
I would say all the facility and equipment funds should be floor.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The top 6 items. And then
What were they last year?
Floor.
I think most of them are floor.
Everything?
Yep.
So the first 6?
Yeah, I think
The
local
community
options.
center fund, floor.
The reappraisal fund?
No, community center.
Sorry, I missed that. Yes.
No, that should be floor.
That should be floor, yeah.
That's floor. Cemetery capital reserve.
I don't see anything on there.
Oh, there's nothing there, right? Okay.
Senior center, floor.
Senior center fund is floor.
Yep, we're not doing the ambulance service. We're not doing the SRV.
Dam spillway's not there.
Dam spillway fund. Reappraisal and grant match, I think, should be floor too.
Okay, those two.
That's my opinion. Everybody else has a different one.
I agree with you.
So they're all floor.
All
Tree
floor.
warden. All floor.
I think it is something we can, I've thought about it a lot. There's something special and unique about town meeting, and we're here and we're doing it. If you're sitting up at dispatch, you're not here. If you're working, you got a family, you got that stuff, what's a good turnout? 100 people? And you got people that come and vote, that's more than that. Access, transparency, we have Zoom now. People can participate and do that. So I support it on the floor, but something to think about.
Yeah, that is a good point.
We need a motion for that.
Ms. Wu, is a motion required for our town voted article vote?
I think you need to have a motion.
Okay, I would make a motion to do all town voted articles for budget 2027 as a floor vote.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guys opposed? Guys have it. Municipal manager update.
End of report.
Yeah. You don't have any weekly update for us?
Other business? Anything under other business? Anybody? Possible items for next meeting? Oh, go ahead, Eric.
Sorry, you're not getting to a meeting without me saying something. Eric Arnold, Trailside Road. Thank you. I just want to take this opportunity to point out example 275,000. Sorry. Sorry about that. As another example of being surprised by something that, we should know about. I just want to say it again for the record that I can't understand how we can plan a budget every year without doing or understanding what our future needs are. It seems the town doesn't want to look past 6 months or a year. And every meeting, you're surprised by something. It happened here tonight. Suddenly there's an expenditure that somehow no one knew about, but everyone knew about. So I'm just going to plead again to please, please, please think about the future, the expenditures that are needed in the future, and do a capital needs assessment. You can't do a proper budget without knowing or understanding what your future expenses are. Being surprised at a meeting is not a way to manage a future budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Ms. Wu, is this board able to ask in the coming months for each department head to get a list of all of their...
Already done.
It's already been done?
I did it.
For each department?
Not each department, all those that would be impacted by impact fees. So highway, fire, ambulance, police, wastewater, and sewer.
Okay. And we should have a document, because it may seem like it's falling on deaf ears, Mr. Alden, but it's not.
It's not.
It just takes some time to get all the moving pieces, but I appreciate your comment.
Thank you, Eric. This is Penny. I appreciate your comment. I've heard that 2 out of my 4 meetings now that I've attended. Believe me, I want to get to that assessment report for all of our departments so we can prepare for the future instead of trying to do what we did tonight. Okay?
Okay. Sign warrant orders. Is it possible executive session personnel contract needed?
I have none.
Nothing? So we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guys opposed?
Who
Guys have it.
seconded it?
I did.
Thank you, everybody.